Hello everybody, I am back again to do a book review, and it is of For Darkness Shows the Stars by Diana Peterfreund. I have been super psyched to read this book ever since I heard about it coming out. I had it pre-ordered months in advance from Amazon, and I was just like, oh my god, when am I going to get this book? And I got it, and I had it on the shelf for a few weeks because I didn't want to read it right away. I wanted to read some older books, and finally I caved in, and I'm like, I have to read this now. I was psyched about this book for a few reasons. For one, it is a dystopian / post-apocalyptic retelling of Jane Austen's Persuasion, and it is by Diana Peterfreund. That is a winning mix to me. I love Diana Peterfreund's To Kill a Unicorn series. I haven't read any of her other books because they didn't exactly sound appealing to me. I love Persuasion, and I love dystopian and post-apocalyptic books, so I'm like, I have to read this book. And it's a pretty cover too, so that always helps. Yeah, so as I said, this is kind of a futuristic Persuasion retelling, but it definitely, she puts her own spin on the story. It is set in this future world where there are essentially a couple of islands left apparently on the world where people actually live. I guess sometime in the past, people did this, I forget, ERV or whatever it was, this procedure to enhance their brains and their genetics and that kind of things. And there was one problem: it made all of their children of these people who had the procedure done become what they called reduced, or basically mentally impaired or retarded, we would still say today. So because of that, these people decided that, you know, if they were going to be the last ones on Earth to be like this, they, I guess, started war on the rest of the world and took out everybody else, including, you know, some of the third world countries and places where people were actually too poor to have this procedure done. Humanity only survived because of Luddites, who are people who disdain technology and all that kind of modern type of things and prefer to live in simpler conditions, and they're also very religious people. They hid underground, and then they came back out and started rebuilt society according to their, you know, traditional methods without using most technology, and they help the reduced people in their own way by, you know, basically employing them as workers and taking care of them. But after some time, these reduced people started to occasionally have children who were not reduced, or post-reductionist they're called, giving birth to children of normal intelligence. And this story starts where 4 years previously, the main character, Elliot North, who is Anne Elliot of Persuasion, she is the daughter of a Luddite lord, and she was friends with and planned to run away with a post-reductionist laborer on their farm, Kai, and she backed out last minute because she didn't want to let down the estate, and she wanted to take care of all of the people there because her father is basically can't do his job. You can see already some of the parallels to Persuasion. This story is 4 years later, just like in Persuasion, where Kai comes back, but now he is Malachi Wentworth, and he is a highly successful sea explorer captain, I guess, just like in Persuasion. And I don't really need to say any more because it's kind of the same thing, that he seems like he hates her at first, but obviously there's still feelings and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, super psyched about this book, and I did really enjoy it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. I could not give it a full 5 out of 5 perfect score, however, and I think basically what killed it for me was, once again, my expectations being too extremely high and impossible to meet. I do this all the time, and I always tell myself not to, and I really try not to. It's not a conscious thing of, you know, psyching myself up so much that I end up being let down in some way by a book. I can't help it. It's not usually conscious, even if I try to tell myself, like, you know, don't expect too much. A lot of times I end up doing it. So while I did really like this book, again, it was 4 out of 5. Not exactly perfect. I did like the character of Elliot North, and I saw how she was a more, you know, a modern version of Anne Elliot, who is one of my favorite Jane Austen heroines. And I liked the bare bones, essentially, the concept of what Diana Peterfreund did with this story, how she put her own spin on it, where you can see a lot of parallels with some of the characters and some of the subplots and things going on in the story, but then there's other things too that, you know, they came out of her own brain. So it's its own story. It definitely stands on its own, which I really appreciated. It's not just like verbatim taking Persuasion and essentially, you know, just changing the characters and setting. It's not like that. That would have been horrible. But I think one thing that really bothered me was the ages of the characters. Elliot and Kai are only 18 years old, and a lot of the other main characters are teenagers as well. I guess I should have expected that, this being a YA novel. I don't really know of any YA where the protagonist is not a teenager, his or herself, but I guess for some reason part of me was expecting the characters to be at least in their 20s. Maybe because knowing the original Persuasion story, how Anne is supposed to be bordering on spinsterhood, you know, being 27, I was thinking something along that line. But I know this is a future society, and I guess they do things differently there, but I don't know. That was one main thing in the beginning that was always kind of in the back of my mind, like, wow, all these people are so young, and yet they're made to act, you know, as adults. And I guess she would be the Louisa Musgrove character, Olivia something, in this, was only 14, and I'm just like, no, that's not right. So it was mentioned in here that for these, you know, reduced and post-reductionist characters, that they do things at a more young age. They're forced to grow up more quickly, you know, get married and that kind of thing. But it just didn't sit well with me. It just felt kind of off and almost forced, as if like she had to make these characters young because it was YA. And I almost wish it had been a book for adults instead, and then we could have had, you know, characters at least who were in their 20s. But I don't know. It kind of maybe sounds like a silly thing for me to dwell on so much, but that did really bother me. I can't actually pinpoint other specific things that stopped me from giving this a 5 out of 5 rating, but if I were to be honest with myself, I feel like it's because I love the original Persuasion so much that nothing I read is ever going to live up to that. And I guess I knew that going into this before I read this book, but I didn't realize how much so until I was actually finished reading this. And I'm like, wow, it was a good book, but it's no Persuasion, which I guess in its way is a good thing, because why? I don't think she was trying to top Persuasion in any way. But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so 4 out of 5 for Darkness Shows the Stars. I don't want to discourage anyone from reading this book because, as I said, it was a highly enjoyable read, and I do definitely recommend it, but it was not perfection. So see you guys later.